class, I just want to do a quick run through here to sort of look at what you're going to see in your quiz today. So I'm just going to go through and show you the problems. Some of them I'll do more work than others, but that way you know exactly what's coming up. Remember, anything you write down as notes from this, you're able to use on the quiz, and your problems are going to be in the exact same order and look like the exact same thing, except just have some different numbers replaced in there. So number one, when we're looking at this, we're just combining like terms. And when we add, the exponent stays the same. So a 5y plus a 6y just gives us 11y. That should be pretty straightforward. Number two, we are multiplying. And remember, when we multiply with exponents, we add the exponents. When we don't see an exponent at all, there's really a 1 there. So on this one, we would be adding a 1 plus a 3 plus a 5. And so we get an answer of w to the 9th. Okay, number three. Sorry, when I flip that, this comes up. So when we look at number three, we have parentheses. So we have the distributive property or multiplication, either way that you can think about it. Okay, when we multiply, we add exponents again. Again, so that 2 and the negative 5 are multiplying, and we're getting a negative 10. And when we multiply with exponents, we add them. So the 4 plus the 3 gives us a 7. Number four, if we look at number 4 here, we're just an exponent to an exponent. And remember, when we have an exponent to an exponent, we multiply. So that would just give us a y to the 6th. Here we have an exponent to an exponent as well, but remember we need to give that exponent to the 7. So we really need a 7 squared and a v squared. So you would need to decide that 7 squared is 49 and have 49v squared. On number 6, again, we have an exponent to an exponent. So that exponent, again, is going to each individual piece. So all 3 of them are getting that exponent of 3. So we need a negative 4 to the 3rd power. That negative 4 is in parentheses. So if you're using a calculator, it has to go in parentheses. We need an a to the 4th to the 3rd power and a v to the 3rd power. So that negative 4 to the 3rd power, you could just do in your calculator and get the negative 64. We'll multiply the 4 times the 3 and get a to the 12th, b to the 3rd. So our final answer would just be the 64, a to the 12th, b to the 3rd. I need to change that setting. Number 7, we are dividing. When we divide, right, we subtract exponents. So the exponents are getting subtracted, but remember the numbers in front, we need to reduce. So you can either decide what they're divisible by, or if you're like, Mrs. McKinney, I'm just terrible with fractions, just pick up a calculator and type into your calculator 28, then hit the ABC button on your calculator, 32, and then hit equals, right? And that will reduce it for you. This one in particular won't be a problem, but if you get a mixed fraction, just hit second ABC and turn it back into improper. Or you can look at this and say, okay, 28, 32, what will go into both of those and start reducing it. So maybe you see 2 and you see that's a 14 and a 16. And then maybe you see 2 again and it's a 7 and 8. Either way, you will end up with a fraction of 7/8, whether you're using your calculator or whether you're doing it by hand. Okay, then we're going to look at the variables that we see up here. Okay, so they both have a d, so those d's are actually going to cancel each other out, right? If we subtract the exponents, 1 minus 1 is 0, and that cancels out. Same thing with the c's, 1 minus 1 is 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. I don't need to just write down times 1. And then I have these left over in the denominator. So this would be my final answer there. Number 8. We're dividing. So when we divide, we subtract. So just that 5 minus 2 is 3. So we just have y to the 3rd. Again, number 9 is division. So same thing, right? We're subtracting exponents and reducing the number in front. So again, if you put this one in your calculator, it's going to come out as a mixed number or as a decimal, depending on how you type it in. So you need to make sure that you're turning it into an improper fraction, right? Either with the second PRB to get from a decimal to a fraction, and then the second ABC to get it into that improper. So no big number and then a fraction after it, just one fraction bar, nothing else. Okay, so when we reduce this, we'll get 9/8. And then when we subtract 4 minus 7, that gives us a -3. And remember, the negative tells us to write it on the bottom. The other way that we've mentioned is that the 7 is the larger exponent. So we know that x to the third is going on the denominator. Number 10. Delete this here. Again, we're subtracting because it's division. So when we divide, we subtract. Okay, so if we subtract, the y's go together. So 5 minus 5 is 0. So those cancel out and they're gone. Then we'll look at the z's. 3 minus 4 is -1. So if you get -1, right, we said we can't just leave it with a negative exponent. So we have to make sure we're moving this to the denominator. So our final answer would be 1/z. Number 11, you could use your calculator on this just fine as long as you type it in exactly like you see it. So number 4, again, everything is to the 0 power, and anything to the 0 power is 1. On the second one down here, the bottom one, 2/5 is to the 0 power, so this becomes 1. But we still have that 3 being multiplied by it, so we'll get an answer of 3. Okay, then our last problem, you could also do this one in your calculator, no problem. Oh, I just took that tool off. Just ignore this stuff over here, guys. You can type this one in your calculator and just do 6 ABC -2 in your calculator. It will give you a weird decimal, but then just hit second PRB and you'll get out 136, which is the answer. So you're going to take a quiz that has these exact same problems. If you say you don't know how to do them, you should go back and look at the homework assignments from this week. You can practice or look at those problems and make sure you know what you're doing.